Good morning and hello. Good morning, everybody. Coming to you from Waikiki Beach today. Let's see if you can see. I'm at the coffee shop. There's the ocean. It's actually not a cloudy day. It just seems like it is. Okay. So good morning. This is our last. We have one more morning in Waikiki. So Monday, I think we'll have an Ocean Sunrise Catechism Monday, and then we head to. No, I'm doing live. I'm just 10 minutes. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. This gentleman here has seen airplanes that are vintage. There's a big rim pack. All these hundreds and hundreds of ships come here every 2 or 4 years or something like that.
75-year anniversary.
And the 75-year anniversary, my son is saying, of that Catalina. But we're heading towards the mainland. I'll be there for a month or so. And so we'll be coming to you starting at 7 a.m. Eastern time. Not sure exactly when we'll start up again. I'm going to be in Minnesota next week for a few days, and then the week after that we'll get back to more of our East Coast time. So just kind of look for us. Anyway, it's a beautiful day in Waikiki. We're reading from the Catechism, paragraph 571. Jesus Christ suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. That's from the Apostles' Creed. The paschal mystery of Christ's cross and resurrection stands at the center of the good news that the apostles and the church following him are to proclaim to the world. God's saving plan was accomplished once for all by the of his Son, Jesus Christ. The church remains faithful. The church remains faithful to the interpretation of all the scriptures that Jesus gave both before and after his Passover. Was it necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory? Jesus' suffering took their historical concrete form from the fact that he was rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes, who handed him to the Gentiles to be mocked and scourged and crucified. So the whole world, Jewish and Gentile, inflicted suffering on Jesus. Faith can therefore try to examine the circumstances of Jesus' death, faithfully handed on by the Gospels and illuminated by other historical sources, the better to understand the meaning of redemption. So we're going to look at the historical Jesus. From paragraph 574, Jesus and Israel. Of course, Jesus is Jewish. From the beginning of Jesus' public ministry, certain Pharisees and partisans of Herod, together with priests and scribes, agreed together to destroy him from the very beginning of his ministry. Because of certain of his acts, expelling demons, forgiving sins, healing on the Sabbath day, his novel interpretations of the precepts of the law regarding purity, and his familiarity with tax collectors and public sinners. People always hated tax collectors, right? Well, the thing about it, back in those days, the tax collectors would always pad the amount of tax they were supposed to collect and keep some of it for themselves. Some ill-intentioned persons suspected Jesus of demonic possession. He is accused of blasphemy and false prophecy, religious crimes, which the law punished with death by stoning. Many of Jesus' deeds and words constitute a sign of contradiction, but more so for the religious authorities in Jerusalem, whom the gospel, according to John, often calls simply the Jews, than for the ordinary people of God. To be sure, Christ's relations with the Pharisees were not exclusively polemical, in other words, argumentative. Remember, Paul was a Pharisee, as was, I believe, Matthew. Some Pharisees warned him of the danger he was courting. Jesus praises some of them, like the scribe of Mark, and dines several times at their homes. Jesus endorses some of the teachings imparted by this of God's people. Certain forms of piety, such as almsgiving, fasting, and prayer, and the custom of addressing God as Father. and the centrality of the commandment to love God and neighbor. It's such an unusual thing to love God, and now not in the case of Israel, but in the case of all the other religions of the world. You mostly feared God, you appeased God. But with Jesus, we please him. We please him. In the eyes of many in Israel, Jesus seems to be acting against essential institutions of the chosen people. Submission to the whole of the law in its written commandments, and for the Pharisees in the interpretation of oral tradition. Sorry, we're on the streets of Kalakaua today. The centrality of the temple at Jerusalem as the holy place where God's presence dwells in a special way. Faith in the one God whose glory no man can share. So we'll wrap up the Catechism today. Got to make it short because the leaf blower is about to come. I'm here with my son Jeremiah. It's beautiful. We work down at this coffee shop. Two times a week about. And today I'm going to be writing the narration for a major part of the whole season 4 of Long Ride Home. The narration as we ride down the infamous 11-mile stretch of 318 S-turns called the Tale of the Dragon. So I'm going to be talking about just that, the tail of the dragon. Satan is the dragon whose tail swept away a third of the stars in heaven. In other words, a third of the demons, of the angels rebelled with him. And we're going to talk about how Jesus conquers the dragon. So I'll make the sign of the cross in Hawaiian. Maka inoa o kamakua, ke keiki e me ka uhane hemalele. Aloha. See you Monday.